Why is it that everything that's fun has to be associated with addiction? And why is anything healthy not fun? Right? Using my entrepreneur brain a little bit, but also my DJ brain, going, well, how can we make something fun and healthy? And also we can do it on a Friday and Saturday night.
Well, hello and welcome back. Welcome to another episode of Finding Equilibrium. And today I have the amazing DJ One Conscious, also known as Dr. Avi, who has made time in his super busy schedule to speak to us today. I mean, how are you today, Dr. Avi? You're in
I'm doing
Kuala
really,
Lumpur. Yeah.
Doing really well. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. It's good to see you. When are you, because I know you split your time between Sydney and between Kuala Lumpur, but you've been in Kuala Lumpur now for, it must be a year. Is that right?
That's right. The joys of being displaced, Lawrence. You have to adapt. It's good to have two homes and two bases, and about to set up a third very soon as well. But, I think COVID's really taught us how we've just really got to adapt and roll with the punches and make the best of any situation, and the whole world's gone online, and that's really created a revolution itself, right?
Yeah, no, it's only had. So for the benefit of the audience and the people who don't know you, so you're a doctor, you're also an entrepreneur, and of course, in the context of today, you're DJ One Conscious, because you created the whole Move4Love movement. So I'd love you to introduce yourself and just tell people a little bit more about Move4Love in particular.
Yeah, look, sounds good, mate. Well, look, my career started off as a doctor in the UK. Worked for the NHS, and then came to Australia, worked as a doctor as well. Spent several years with technology and corporates in the healthcare and also in in essentially the mobile and film space for a while. And really over the last sort of 6-7 years or so, I went through this personal journey of a lifestyle change. I kind of gave up on alcohol, broke free from cigarette smoking, and I really transformed my life in a way that was quite sort of profound, quite interesting, and it changed my social circle, and really got into music quite heavily as a DJ, and really accelerated that side of my life. And what was interesting is that when I started going out, everywhere was a place that you needed to consume alcohol in order to enjoy. And I started to think, well, that's just crazy. If you want a healthy night out that's fun, and you want to dance and you want to boogie and you want to hang out with your friends, there really isn't anywhere for you to go, right? And so when I started DJing and I was being trained to become a club DJ, and I said, well, it kind of defeats the purpose, because I don't want to play in clubs. I love the atmosphere of clubs. I don't necessarily want to be surrounded by drunk people. And so I created this scene with a bunch of friends called Move4Love. We started off as drug and alcohol-free parties, and I know you've been to,
yeah, pre-COVID I went. Yes, it was an amazing experience. Yeah,
first parties downtown, right? And it started going really, really well, and we were picked up by ABC News. We were featured on national news after a while. As to why we were doing this and why me from a medical background is doing this, even though it's largely driven by my personal lifestyle. But then more and more science got into it, and more and more people started coming to them, and we started changing it during COVID to go more online, right? Because we couldn't do the physical parties anymore, and that started taking off. We started off on Facebook initially, doing Facebook Lives.
Yeah,
right?
I remember.
And now it's all Zoom, right? So we started getting invited to the World Mindfulness Day conference, which is a whole Zoom conference that had a whole day of mindfulness speakers, and the organizer, Shamash Ali Dina, who's a global mindfulness expert, said, Avi, can you do Move4Love at the end of the day as a mindful rave, which is where we were going with it. And now it's become this 4-in-1 mindful rave, or wellness rave, as we call it. That's just now spread to 10 countries around the world.
Really, that many? It's incredible. Really, it's an incredible story. Like just hearing you. So, like, you gave up alcohol and then you became a DJ. Is that the was that the sequence? And
So it
then
was happening around the same time. It was
it's
happening
so
around.
interesting, isn't it? Yeah, how it's kind of evolved organically.
Yeah, absolutely. It's all just kind of evolved organically. New idea evolves into, a sort of a personal passion and a personal mission, and a personal inquiry into, why is it that everything that's fun has to be associated with addiction?
Mm,
And why is anything healthy not fun, right?
mm.
Using my entrepreneur brain a little bit, but also my DJ brain, going, well, how can we make something fun and healthy, and also we can do it on a Friday and Saturday night,
Absolutely.
which is where Move4Love kind of the first format came from. But then as COVID hit, well, we said, well, how can we make that digital experience, and how we can make a wellness experience that's digital, and mainly we didn't do it to try and build a business. We did it just to help people, because we were
Mm,
seeing mental health issues of people being isolated, people being depressed, and people being in lockdowns and quarantines. And we said, no, we just have to play. We just have to play for people, and we just have to, entertain people wherever they are. And we were surprised, because not only was, it wasn't just the rave crowd that was coming, the typical rave crowd that you see, the young millennials that are party goers. It ended up being, mums with their young children that were attending, families with kids, elderly people.
right.
I've had comments from people in their 70s that were
Really,
attending.
that's
Yeah,
amazing.
people in wheelchairs were coming to our raves, and they were dancing in their wheelchairs. And one of the comments, we did one of the events in the UK, where it was a corporate event, where they were having this 8-week program, and at the end of the program they wanted to have the usual celebration get together, but they couldn't do it because the whole of UK was in the lockdown. And so they said, Avi, we can't do our usual celebration where all the the ladies on the program get together. It was a return to work program to help women find work again.
Mm.
And they said, could we do Move4Love at the end? And we did that, right? And they just went off. They just were dancing the whole time.
Really,
And I
so
didn't,
cool. Yeah,
yeah,
so
didn't
amazingly
know
cool.
this until I actually did this. Was you know. So I think we're bringing something unique out there, and I'm just really satisfied by the reactions of the people that come along.
It's so cool. So just let's dig a little bit deeper into what the experience is like. So you say it's a Zoom call, so everyone's going to have an impression of what that looks like. But so what happens, like when you do a corporate event or an event for a community or for any group of people? So what happens? So we all dial in via Zoom, and then what?
Yeah, it's quite interesting. So often, in a lot of cases, they're doing something else first. So they're at a conference, or they've just been doing a program, or they've listened to a lot of speakers, and then we show up at the end, and literally the screen shifts to us. I'm DJing from a studio, but it doesn't start off with DJing, and that's the thing that's a little bit different. It's not just a DJ performance that's a rave. Move4Love actually has evolved into a 4-in-1 experience,
Right.
which starts with some storytelling and mindfulness at the beginning, where we do a quick short meditation to just drop us into the location and the experience, followed by some stretching, which is essentially some yoga moves, but we call it stretching. And then we move into the rave, which is the third section, and this is where we play lots of great tunes that sort of from various different genres, and lots of remixes of the good old classics as well, some house tunes, dance tunes, and then close off with a gratitude practice that
Okay.
helps become grateful for where they are now. So it's a whole mind-body experience. It's a mind-body workout in a way that's kind of
Mm.
fun, exciting, open to all ages, and yeah. So the community ones have been, I find they've all got great feels. I mean, the thing about the corporate ones, a lot of people get to know each other already, because they all work together in the same
Mm.
workplace and so on, but they're bonding in a different way,
Mm.
right? Great mental health kind of relief that's also fun and good for you. But in the community one, it's people establishing connections. It's
Yes.
people kind there's a few friends there that have all come together, but it's people kind of seeing how people in other countries all kind of dancing together, and so that's just like a globally changing experience that you have to be there to really see it and feel it.
No, I love the concept. I mean, I love what you say also about making wellness fun, because it's true. I think often we think of being well, you have to sacrifice, it's you either, I think a lot of people have the perception that to be well, you have to eat stuff you don't like, you have to move your body, work out in the gym and grit your teeth, and just give up on all the things that are the pleasures in life. But I think what you've done is shown that that isn't true at all. In fact, what you can do is you can tick many of the boxes of wellness, if you like, but feeling good is a byproduct, and you don't get the hangover, you don't get all the things that are the price to pay. So you get people like, it's going to be good for your mindset and mental health, such a big, and stress management, such a big topic, at the moment. It's going to be good for your physical body because you're moving your body. It's going to be good for your social well-being and your connection. So you're ticking a number of the different boxes, and then you're going to feel good afterwards, which will help you to sleep better, and then have the optimum energy, if you like, for the next day. So well done. It sounds really, really cool. I can't wait to experience it.
You're selling it better than I do. You've got to be you on the
No, it's cool. No, I love it because I love things that tick all those boxes, because you often don't, there's always a primary reason. A lot of people love to dance, but you don't necessarily think of dancing as exercise. When we think of exercise, we think about, working out on the treadmill, doing things that are not necessarily pleasurable. But when you're actually dancing, you're moving your body. I mean, it really is, I've started learning to dance myself. So I'm talking from recent experience, because I've never a dancer, but a friend of mine is a dance teacher. So I've been learning African dancing actually. And it's just such a really amazing experience, learning to move your body and move your body to the beat. I'm a beginner, so attending a Zoom rave with the camera turned off might be a good
I mean, that's the thing. You don't need to know how to dance, right? You don't even need the legs functional, is what we've found, right? Because when we're doing these things, and we did that one at World Mindfulness Day, and the comments started appearing on the right side on the chat box, right? And the comments were so surprising, and I couldn't see them because I had 4 cameras on me, and I was just really performing to the cameras, and then at the end, my studio producer says to me, "I've got to look at the comments tomorrow. You've got to read all the comments in the chat box." I'm like, "Why?" He said, "No, you just got to read it. It's just really unbelievable." And I said, "Okay, I'll read it." And when I went back the next day and I watched the recording and the comments, the first comment was from a 71-year-old lady who said, "I'm 71 years old and I'm dancing right now." And then the next comment was from some other lady who was saying, "Oh my God, I'm 70 years old in 2 weeks."
And I'm also dancing.
Well. And then dancing. And the third comment was from someone who said, "Oh, I had an operation yesterday and I'm in a wheelchair. I didn't think I could dance, but now this is letting me do that," because they're all at home, and as you said, they can turn off their cameras if they don't want to be seen, and they can just boogie. I've got people dancing in their kitchens, and whilst they're cooking, and as I said, mums and the kids, instead of watching TV, they're doing this instead.
It's really wonderful. Well done. I want to just change gear a little bit and just talk a little bit about the serious side of things, because of course one of the big things is no alcohol. And within a workplace, and I know from my own experience, having run a big well-being program, that when you bring people together, particularly in the evenings, then there is an expectation that there'll be alcohol available. I'm all a kind of 80-20 kind of person, if you like. It's not like some people are better at having no alcohol at all. Others are better at sort of managing their own moderation, and that word, of course, is going to differ based on the individual. But I think I remember you telling me that when you look at alcohol, and particularly now, there's a problem, isn't there, with alcohol consumption that we have in our society, that not everyone's good at regulating their consumption of alcohol, and it can cause all kinds of problems.
Yeah, look, absolutely, and from being, coming from a medical background, we're not sort of against alcohol, I suppose. It's the thing, right? It's more about giving people an option to do something that doesn't require it, right? Where you're actually comfortable and you're actually okay if you go to an event. Apologies, but if you go to an event and not drink, right? It's actually okay for you to do that. And often when you go to an event, if you're the person that's not drinking, it's almost like you're the outcast.
It's true.
Like
I mean, it's very true.
Yeah, it's almost like you're socially unacceptable when you do that, and so that's kind of unfair if you're actually doing the right thing, in terms of your body and your mind and what's good for you. So I think I kind of in some ways saw the light, and I just wanted to provide an avenue and an option for people to be socially accepted, right? When they come, I remember at one of the events that we had, and in fact that was the one that you were at in Sydney. I had this story where somebody came up to me, and me being one of the organizers, and I've been DJing for a couple of sets, and my partner in crime, Yemi the cat, who's my other DJ, was DJing, and I was walking around just checking something, and someone came up to me and he said, Avi, there's a girl crying in the toilets, right? And I said, oh dear, what did we do wrong? What happened? And she said, no, she was just in tears of joy almost, because she said, I did not think something like this could even exist.
Wow.
A place that was safe, a place that was fun, a place where she wasn't being harassed, just dance and let go, and no one was harassing her. A lot of sometimes people feel intimidated going to a club, and it's not comforting. Whereas, in the Move4Love environment, you feel free, like you feel that sort of freedom. And also there's the health benefit, whereby, and I know this particularly from having sort of broken free of my binge drinking, at the time, which actually a lot of us don't realize that our consumption, the normal healthy amount of consumption is actually about 5 to 7 drinks a week.
5 to 7 drinks, so just like 5 to 7 glasses. Is that what you mean?
10 to 14 units, where one drink is 2 units, right? So
so many people could drink that in just a night. I used to.
Yeah, exactly. I know I used to, right? So actually, most people are drinking at an unhealthy, significant or very significant unhealthy levels of consumption without actually realizing, the effect on, liver disease, pancreatic disease, strokes, and various other conditions, not that come from obesity and diabetes and so on. And there's so much health risk associated with it that we don't even realize it. And it's not just that, but also the dangers of accidents, head injuries, and all that. We used to have the saying when I used to work in the emergency department as a doctor. We used to say, the weekend before payday, we would see the suicide attempts, and the weekend after payday, we would see the head injuries. This trend that was anecdotal. I can't say there's hard evidence on that, but that seemed to be what the talk in emergency department when I was there. So we don't realize these consequences of the addictions, and most people don't even realize they're addicted until it's hunted around.
It's true. I think also it feels very normal, because it's a cultural thing, like when I started my career, I worked in the city of London, like I was working in insurance, right at the very beginning of my career. And that had a culture at that time where everyone went out to the pub at lunch and after, and it was very normal. It was very normal because that's just what everyone did. So it's very easy to just go along with it if you want to fit in and if you want to be part of, part of the clan, so to speak. So to break yourself away, and you touched on this before, that when you change your own drinking habits, you said you changed your social group, and that is one of the consequences of making a statement like that. You know, suddenly you no longer are. You're almost saying I'm different to the people that I'm used to mixing with. So and that can be very lonely and very isolating.
Yeah, absolutely. And loneliness is one of the biggest epidemics. You know, not strictly an epidemic, but it is a major condition worldwide right now. It's a diagnosed condition. Even this U.S.
Really, I didn't know that. A diagnosed condition of loneliness. Interesting.
Well, in a sense that it is so pervasive now, and it leads to so many other sort of conditions. And we know that, you know, the science is showing that some of the people that live the longest, right? The people that live the longest, it's correlated, and there's a TED talk on this. Are correlated are two of the top three factors. One of them is that they have 6 close friends. So they have a small group of close friends. The Japanese call them moi.
Right.
And the 6 friends or 5 other friends that you have that you go through life with. And so you have to have a small number of close relationships through life. And that is associated with a longer life. And the other thing is that this factor of having many small human interactions in a day. So just walking down the street saying, hi, John, whatever, going to the store, interacting with people is also associated with a longer life. Yes. So we need to connect as human beings, and that is associated with a prolonged life. It's also related with better life.
Yes.
And we're not trying to do that digitally, right?
With what absolutely. What we're doing. Which is wonderful. I think that's one of the big learnings, isn't it, from the whole pandemic period, is that we are just hardwired to connect. And if you try and force people to socially distance, it's so unnatural. Like we really struggle, like telling, you know, a grandmother not to hug their grandchild. You know, it's like so opposite to your natural your natural way you are, so that you can see that if you're cutting people off, then of course isolation is miserable. That's why in prison they put you in isolation, I guess, so that you are, you know, it's like the ultimate punishment, being on your own without any other human contact.
Yeah, absolutely. And the science also, you know, with any addiction, even addiction to the phone, so many of us are addicted to our phones nowadays because we're wanting that dopamine high, right? That comes from the next notification coming through our news feed. And digital media has actually got a major downside, right? I know it's singularity and we're all talking tech, but we do have to balance tech with wellness and figure out how we balance the productivity gains with the human connectedness and wellness gains as well, right? So when we look at, you know, the experience of Move4Love, you've got movement occurring and you've got listening to music. So your body's now releasing, you know, getting that dopamine rush from the music. The endorphins are being released from the moving your body, you know, and you're releasing a lot of those toxins that are built up through that, you know, kind of aerobic exercise and movement. So, you know, there's that sort of mind-body science behind the experience as well, that helps sort of counter the need for continuously, you know, having another drink or having another cigarette, or, you know, going back to the phones, which in a way we feel sometimes we get that dopamine rush, but actually there's a lot of science that says if we're too addicted digitally, that can also emphasize.
Yeah, for sure. It's all about this word that I use a lot, equilibrium, because you're absolutely right. You know, technology is an amazing thing. You know, the fact we're having this conversation is technology, but if it becomes out of balance, then everything suffers. So it's this higher order of always trying to make sure everything's in balance in your environment and in your body, and, you know, the heart, the mind, the gut, you know, all of those things. If they're in balance, then we're able to move in more of this flow state rather than feeling out of balance. And we all know when we're out of balance. Like, it's kind of obvious in many ways. You know, if you're feeling like really lethargic, or, you know, we know when we're out of balance. And I think the key thing is because we're not saying that you have to be in balance all the time, because the way I see it is like every single day, almost like it's like I feel like sometimes we're on a surfboard, and every day, things are coming along to try and push us off, whether they're external things or internal things, like, thoughts and, memories, those types of things. But I think the key thing is, if we've got our own toolkit, then we know how to get back into balance. And some of those things are obvious, like food, movement, social interactions that we've talked about. But things like dancing and going to raves, you may not think of that as part of your equilibrium or your well-being toolkit, but it's so important, because if you could do that and you could really integrate that into your life, on a daily basis or a weekly basis, then that's bringing you that joy and helping you find that balance, which leads to all kinds of benefits. So how can, as well as the raves that you do on a on a regular basis for organizations and communities, but for people who are listening who think, I like the sound of this, how can I have my own mini raves on my own or with my family or my friends? What would you say? Like, what advice would you say to? Is it literally just turning on the music and dancing? Is that all that it takes, or is there more that people can do to create a more interesting experience?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I suppose when I think about sort of the Move4Love formula, in effect, you can do all of it at home, right, on your own. And the first part is really just a little bit of mindfulness, that is sitting in silence for just a couple of minutes, even 1 minute if you need to, just to check in on yourself and see how you're feeling at any point in time, and observing your breath. That alone, very significant effect. Then you go into with stretching, and we are all sitting in front of our computers now for such a long periods, and our body isn't designed to sit for such a long period of time.
It's so funny, isn't it? Like, our bodies, it feels like we're doing things that our body's just not designed to do. It's so interesting. Yeah. So
for the time. So just some stretching, just moving your body, just moving around, moving out legs, bending forward, bending back, rolling your hips, and that's something we do as well. That's something you can do in your home. And then we get into the rave part, because now you're a little bit warmed up and you're a little bit present. Actually, just turning on the music, whether that's Spotify, put your headphones in, create a playlist. Go to Spotify and type in "Move4Love." We released a track. We've got our own track.
Cool.
That,
I'm good.
That keeps you going. That Move, and then the number 4, and then Love, right? And there's a track there, and I should make up a Spotify playlist. But we've got many other playlists on our SoundCloud. Just go to one of those playlists and just turn it on. It will get you moving for the next, 5, 10, up 45, 50 minutes or an hour, right? And that will get you moving and dancing and feeling good and feeling uplifted, at almost zero cost, right? And then finally, just sit down and check back in with yourself, and put your hands on your heart and say, what can I be grateful for right now?
Oh, that's wonderful.
For my dance? Can I be grateful for my friends? Can I be grateful for that song because I love listening to it?
Yes.
And relationship coach, who's an international expert, who's a close friend of mine. He's been on Fox News and many others. And he says, how often do you say thank you to your hands? How much hands done for the day?
It's so
right?
true. So
Yeah.
true.
And look at your hands. You got nothing to be grateful. Look at your hands. Say thank you.
Thank
for
you,
doing
hands. I know.
Today, because I haven't thanked you in a while, right? So there's always to be grateful.
It's all those things. Yeah, I love that. It's like being grateful for just the fact that we have this miracle of creation. Because I often think, like, thank you. I almost had an accident the other day when I was out running, and I almost got like smashed on the head with this big metal. You saw her on Facebook. But after that, we have those kind of moments. You realize, like, one moment you're like fine, next moment you could be dead, and but then after that I was just flooded with gratitude, like flooded. And it was just things like, I'm grateful that didn't help, but fall on my head clearly, but just things like, grateful to see, grateful to walk, grateful to, all of the things that we take for granted, that they become like wallpaper. It just brings that awareness to it. So that's awesome that you do that. So like that whole it's like a mini wellness festival in itself, isn't it? You know, you've got the mindfulness where you're sitting still and you're really focusing on the breath. I love that. You've got the stretching, moving your body, so getting yourself ready for the activity, and the main activity is the dance. And then you've got all that time to really experience the bliss of dancing to music. And then after that, then you bring it back to by expressing gratitude and reminding yourself of all the things that you have that you're grateful for. I think we as humans tend to be biologically predisposed to focus on the negative, so we often ignore all the things that are actual real assets and positives in our life, as inconsequential as they may actually seem. So that's wonderful. That's a really nice practice that we can all do, and whenever we need to lift our spirits, lift our moods, and change our state. Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. That's really wonderful.
I think fundamental to all of it is love, and we don't talk about love very much. And the name Move4Love, and why the for love was because we actually found that love can be a confusing term for people. Like, what does love mean when you say I love you? What does that actually mean? And in the English language, it's one word, but in the Greek language, there are many words for love. And the 4 words that we use in the movement are, talking about philia, which is, the love for friends, eros, the love for your romantic partner, agape, which is love for yourself, unconditional love for self, humanity, a higher power, whatever it might be. And also the first one that we use is storge, which is actually the love between a mother and a child, that family love.
Really?
So we've got that 4 love there that we don't even know that's how we describe it. But in future, we can, when you come into the Move4Love and you get deeper into it, you actually understand why we're doing all of this is actually to connect people and bring love together and define it better. Because the most fundamental thing in the universe to all of us, we can't even explain very well.
that is amazing. I didn't know. I did, like, it's funny you just said that, and I remember hearing that before, like right at the beginning. That's amazing, those 4 types of love. So it's a really profound name, and it's got a whole story and a whole meaning behind it. So it's literally, it is about connecting us to love, connecting, and the different types of love that exist. That's really good. I love that.
Yeah, and these are all just modalities. I mean, not just modalities, but they're all modalities too, as forms of expression of those, 4 kinds of love. So, normally when you come to an event, we've got the 4 different colored hearts. You've been to it, the yellow heart, the green heart,
of course,
for each one of those loves. So that's the big theme there. And our dream is to expand that. Just to create that loving, healthy world. And but through a fun experience as well, bring this to some of the biggest leaders in the world, as well as biggest corporations in the world and the biggest organizations in the world.
Yeah, it's amazing. So what will be next? So at some point we'll be back to normal living, and so do you imagine that the Move4Love raves will always be online, or would you envisage at some point when we can get back together in groups that it will return and become an in-person experience, or maybe a combination of both? What's your thoughts?
Yeah, so we already do, planning our next in-person sort of events and festivals and so on. And we're being invited by, people who run festivals and event organizers and, wellness programs, keynote speaking organizations and so on. So some of these, and we're training up DJs around the world. So we already have one other one in Australia and another one in the UK that are being Move4Love facilitator program. So starting to recruit other facilitators that are DJs and non-DJs, or people from other movements that want to come and run a Move4Love event in their locality, as it were. So we're opening this up now in a very significant way, and more people are jumping on board to run these events in different countries. So even radio stations are starting to come on board to partner with us. So we run a Move4Love on radio.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, in the UK, that's happening soon. And yeah, so I'd strongly encourage people who want to know what we're doing to, come to the website. That's www.move, then number 4, and I love .co, not .com, but .co. And also, our dream is also to take this to some of the biggest concerts and festivals around the world. So our dream to, have it at Tomorrowland. And Tomorrowland's a big rave globally, but we want to have the first major sober stage at
That'd be so cool. You can
Yeah.
imagine like doing an entire festival, just Move4Love, an entire festival just focused around that. Wow. So you've got some big ambitions and big goals, and I'm sure it's all going to happen. So thank you so much, Dr. Avi, for spending time with us. I know you're super busy with all the different projects that you've got, and I'm looking forward to experiencing the rave ourselves. And when we're recording this before the Singularity Youth Summit, but Dr. Avi and the team will be bringing the rave to the Singularity Youth Summit on the first day. So if the summit's still ahead, do make sure you are part of that. I'm really looking forward to it. It's going to be great to experience it. So, so you mentioned your website. Any other places that people can find you?
Look, we're all over social media, so
Right.
if and super excited to be playing at Singularity Summit, because Singularity U is something I've been following for a while, and I think there's amazing innovation happening there. But yeah, I'm on Instagram, DJ One Conscious on Instagram, as well as obviously Facebook. We've got a couple of pages where, again, you type in Move4Love. We're on there. Got a few things on YouTube and so on, and of course download the track on Spotify.
Yeah,
we've
of
got
course, I'm going to do that right after this. Yeah.
And track again, just type in either DJ One Conscious or Move4Love on Spotify, and all our playlists from previous events are also on our SoundCloud. So you go to sound.com under DJ One Conscious, you'll find all the playlists from our previous events and get a taste of the music. You can play in your homes and just bash it. It's free, and you can have your own mini rave, as you said, right?
So awesome. Well, you've certainly put me in the mood for a mini rave this evening. So thank you so much for spending time, and we look forward to seeing you next time. And thank you everyone for your time and for your attention. And we will see you on the next show. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Lawrence.
Thanks a lot.